How to deal with writer's block. Varshit Reddy is asking how to deal with writer's block. First thing, take a cold shower. That's the best thing. Second thing, go to a library. Third, you can visit a new place. Yeah, Apu has just joined. Okay, let me see. You can shoot your
Hi, Jay.
cinematography. Hi, Apu. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just setting up the camera.
Long. Okay.
Long time, no?
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, it's cool, no? Works well?
Yeah, it's good.
This one?
Yeah.
One second.
You're able to hear, right?
Yeah.
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 So I'm in a remote village actually. So the only option is getting my car to where the signal is and doing this interview.
Yeah. I was actually wondering
Because
how you're sitting inside a car.
yeah, there is no option. Because
Yeah.
in
Sound is
this
fine,
village
no?
there is sound is fine, very good.
It's fine,
Yeah,
right?
if
Okay,
they are able
cool.
to, if everyone can hear both of us, can you say yes in the comments? Are you able to hear both of us? You can also comment your cinematography questions in the comment section. You're able to hear? Naveen, hi.
Yeah, I think sound
Yes,
is fine.
thank you.
Everyone is saying yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Apu, how are you enjoying the
Yeah.
success?
Yeah, it's been unreal for a while, but now things are getting back to normal. So it was really great. Yeah, it was really great. Especially the response from Kerala has been like overwhelmingly good. So that was, I didn't expect that. To be honest, I didn't expect that kind of adulation from Kerala. Yeah. So
That's the cherry on the cake, actually.
yeah. That is the
Because
ultimate, I would say.
see, they have
Ultimate.
already seen that original and appreciating the remake is really
Yeah.
great
It's
thing.
very rarely, especially like no, I haven't seen any other remake getting like any other remake of Malayalam films getting such good reviews from Kerala. Because usually people are always very critical about those films, especially when it's a remake, right? So in this case, it's been overwhelmingly positive and it's great. It's really great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the best compliment you have received from Mollywood, from your industry?
Best compliment I would say is like almost unanimously people and most of the like film critics, they have said that you can watch this film not just as a remake but as its own original film, as its own Telugu film. So that I feel is the ultimate best compliment any remake film can get, right? So
Yeah. So
yeah.
it has got its own world to this, right?
Yeah. It stays true to its native, and it has made the film without losing the spirit of the film, which is the most important thing. Without losing the soul of the original film, we have like really adapted its soul. We didn't transplant it actually. We adapted it accordingly so that even for an Telugu audience who haven't watched the original film, the Malayalam film, it is still something fresh or something new. So you will never feel that you have copied story from some other place to and taken it here. So that thing is not there. So that completely the credit completely goes to Maha, the extremely intelligent and sensitive way he has really told the story. So that's something great. Yeah.
So I was with Maha while he is watching this particular Mahesh Ente in many times, multiple times, and he is writing notes and
Oh,
all this stuff. Yeah. So
yeah.
it's very inspiring
Okay.
learning experience for me too, to understand how a director conceives to do a
Yeah.
remake and all that. He added that
Yeah.
little peppy things. I mean, he made it a little bit louder to Telugu audience. That's what
Right. Certain things, no? Yeah.
really struck
Certain
the chord.
humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain things.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah. It's true. Yeah.
yeah. See, one thing that always amazed me is the most stressful job is the director's job and also cinematographer's job on the set.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing that always amazes me is you always keep smiling throughout the shoot. That really amazed me.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
addition to the lights that you are setting up, your face is
Yeah.
always bright, just those like lights of those. So what is the secret? How do you maintain that? I mean, how do you maintain that?
Yeah, because I think I can think creatively only when I am happy inside. If I am in a very
Mm,
terrible mood, or then whatever I do would become very functional, and that's what I felt. So I always try to create an atmosphere around me, even with my assistants. Like even I take
mm,
people, such people as assistants, so that there is always a mood of trust or around me. So it's very important to keep that space around us, especially when we are working in
mm.
highly stressful situations, right? Because anyhow, most of the shoots, at least 30-40% time, you will end up in a stressful situation. So it's very
Yeah,
important, especially for me as my own creative process. I always make sure that I try to minimize the amount of stress I take, because once you get
okay.
into a stressful phase, stress, you
Mm,
need a certain amount of stress to be creative also.
mm.
That is the, you can't
Yeah,
be like completely
yeah,
relaxed and do something
true.
nice. So
Mm.
so this is something which I have practiced for a while, like trying to
Okay.
be in a positive state of mind, so that
Mm.
you're looking at the positive aspects of what is around. So if you are really in a negative mood, you always pick on the negative stuff around, right? So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you are positive, then your team will also be positive. So your team is really looking up to you. So most of the,
Yeah,
especially in a shoot, everyone looks up to the cameraman to an extent, because if you really want to judge the mood of the set, you can really look at the cameraman. That's what I believe most of the time. So you have to
mm.
stay positive, even if something is not going well. You have to like inspire
Yeah,
people around you. Only then something you can extract something more than which you can
yeah,
get.
yeah.
So that is one thing. Yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah.
Okay. So do you do any kind of meditation or yoga something, or any sort of such
No,
things help
not
you in these?
no, not
I
yoga,
mean,
but
mm, mm.
yeah, I do like basic exercises, and because it's such a physically demanding job also. So when I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
shooting, I make sure I do some exercises. I'll stay active, go on walks, those kind of things, but nothing
Okay.
specific. Like I don't, I haven't done any meditation as such. I used to do yoga in school time, so I had a basic
Okay.
understanding of yoga at that time, but nothing more than what any ordinary person would do. I mean, nothing extraordinary or something. Yeah. So
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So I'll go into the questions. Some people have
Okay.
sent me questions regarding this cinematography and all that stuff.
Sure.
What is the relationship between art director and cinematographer? What are the decisions they would make collectively?
Yeah. So for me, art direction is the cinematographer's best friend, because cinematographer's half of the work, or like when someone says the cinematography is good, what they really mean by that also is the art direction is also good, or it's working well with the
Mm.
film, because
Yeah,
art direction is the backdrop against which we are shooting most of the time, apart from the actors.
yeah,
So I think in a film, 80% of the time we are focusing on the actors. The space that the actors occupy, the
mm.
way it is built, will actually inform a lot of decisions that the cameraman will take in terms of lighting. So for
Okay.
me, art director is my after director, he is my most trusted collaborator, because if
Okay.
the art is not good, nothing you can do to save the film. Like whatever magic you bring with your lighting or your lensing, it wouldn't work well, because then the world that you're showing won't be believable enough, right? So
Okay. Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
so that's why I consider like 50% of my work to be also the work of art director. Like it depends so much on the art direction support. So art director is someone who I always collaborate with right from the pre-production stage. So in terms of the choice of colors, because
Okay.
most often there is a misunderstanding that the look of the film we achieve in post or DI, in color
Mm.
correction, which is a very
Yeah.
wrong notion, because whatever
Okay.
colors are there in the frame, you're committing that in the while shooting actually, and that will actually inform the look of the film. So if you really want have a look in mind, you have to work right from the starting, like planning of what your wall colors should be, what the costume color should be, what kind of props, what colors of props should be there. So it's very important in that way, and art director is your go-to person, especially when you're building a set and all. Like you can plan with the art director to set up practical lamps where you feel the scene would be shot, and you can actually use those lights for illumination for shooting the scene also. So collaboration with art director is the most important relationship for a cinematographer from an image making perspective. Yeah.
Okay. In daytime shooting, that too in sunny day, what's the best method to shoot without using a diffuser?
Without using diffusion. Okay. Yeah. So, especially this is one situation which most of the Indian DOPs will have to face at one point or the other while shooting outdoors. Because in bigger films, you always see that they have like 20 by 20 some diffusion, and they block the sunlight, and then they relight for the actors. But for like for an independent film, I would say it's always one approach would be during the recce. You always go to the location and find the best time to shoot, like in terms of light. That is one thing, especially if you don't have the budget. That's something you should really focus on, and then you have to plan your day of shoot accordingly. So most often, it's one good approach is to shoot in backlight, so that the backlight remains consistent. For your key light, you can just fill in with even with a thermocol is enough. You can just push in and you can shoot. So there is a consistency to things. So keep the character always in a backlight or half semi backlight or something, and shoot. So that is also something which most of the DOPs follow most of the times. And try to get the window of time. Like don't shoot in the top sun situation, like in the let's say from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, or in our Indian equatorial conditions. I think that is when the sun is in the peak. So try to plan like 8 to 10, and then maybe 3 to 4, 3 to 5. So especially while shooting outdoors, these are the things that you can use so that you can take maximum advantage of the natural light. Yeah.
Okay. Please mention some best filters.
Filters, it's such a subjective thing, no? So it will really depend on the story that you are saying, or the kind of feel you want to bring. So I don't have any.
For
such...
our movie, you can give some example. For
So our movie, we didn't use any filtration apart from the regular ND filters. Only in the flashback sequences, I have used a half soft effects filter, just to give the highlights a little bloom, that dreamy quality to it slightly, not too much. Also, I think I used a quarter. Yeah. So it comes in different grades. So 1/8, quarter, half, 1, 2. So I used a quarter, soft effects filter, just so that it looks slightly different from the other section of the film. Also, we went for a different framing aspect ratio also, right, for those. So it was kind of explanatory, I think, in that way. Yeah.
Okay. In earlier films of yours, maybe CIA or
I've actually used. Yeah, I've used filters. I've used like in the last film I was shooting a Bengali film in Calcutta. So in that I have used like most of these filters, like black satin, pro mist. So that's what I'm saying. All these are like low contrast filters. So, low contrast, so it kind of lowers the contrast of the image. So this is such a subjective thing. You have to actually test it and see which works for you. So there is no one filter which works for all conditions. Nothing like that. Yeah. Also, in Uma Maheshwara, our whole approach to the image making was such that we didn't want to go for any such external softening or beautification or anything. So we really wanted a very raw image, something that people can really relate to. Like they should feel that they are actually seeing a scene from that village. It shouldn't feel like typically cinematic in the typical context. Yeah.
Is it necessary to work as assistant cinematographer?
I would say yes, because even if you study in a film institute, like mostly in the institute you are working in a very safe atmosphere. So you are working the way you want to, basically. So there is nobody who's imposing anything, and mostly you are not working with like big time actors, and also actors give you time while you are in the institute. But after coming out, the concerns of the industry are so different. You will have to work according to the time of an actor who has given you limited time, and your resources might be limited, or mostly it's the time. I think the time is the factor. So to adjust to the time demands of the film industry, you should really understand how the industry operates and how things are done in a professional setup. So for that, I think assisting in one film should be good enough if you have a very good institute background. But to understand the mechanics of the industry, it's very, I would suggest you should assist at least in one film, for sure. Yeah.
So if a person is not having opportunity for a film institute, if he cannot afford
Yeah.
or something, then how should he learn cinematography?
I would say he could start assisting, like start working in the industry as soon as possible. Maybe join as an intern or the last assistant, and work his way up. Also, there is so much information on the web, no? So if someone, I would say, if someone is so really passionate and has an internet connection, there is nothing stopping him nowadays. So you can watch films, but that having a direction or having a mentor is very important, because now the information is so scattered, no, on the internet.
Yeah.
So to understand what is the right thing and what is not the right thing is also very important. So you should definitely have a mentor. So maybe if you are assisting in cinematographer, he could be a mentor also. So that is another approach, and that's also very good approach actually. But you should feel that you are a student, and that yearning for learning should be there. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
See, because in industry, joining as AC is also very tough
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
flow
yeah.
of
Correct.
yeah. So in that case, using the internet, sourcing some material, and
Correct.
maybe they are shooting a short film themselves
Yeah,
or something.
that's
These
really
things,
good.
no?
Yeah, so I think that will
Yeah.
lead to that, because once you start assisting, you'll find more assistant directors or someone who really wants to make their film. So they might do a short film. So you can. So you, what I felt is in the institute, we used to learn the most by doing projects only, rather than attending classes or learning technical stuff. Because all the technique that you learn, it's pointless unless a chance to apply it comes in front of you. So only through application you can really understand the concepts better. Okay, why is this thing so? Like why this lighting works, or how much time a certain lighting will take. That you can learn only through doing, right? So I think, yeah, doing short films is a great way to learn. But you should understand whether your process is right or wrong, or whether it's an efficient process. So there is no right and wrong in filmmaking, no. It's only about efficiency, basically. So you should know how much time certain thing would take, and will it work. So those things come from experience also. So that this is what I would suggest. Yeah.
Yeah. Which camera is better for shooting action sequences, red or ARRI?
There is again, it's such a subjective question, because certain action sequences where you're going handled, or where the size of the camera needs to be small, I think red has an advantage in those things, because on a sensor level, I don't think there is that much of a difference. It also depends on how you shoot. So I would say it's a personal preference. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What's your opinion on GK Vishnu sir?
I have heard of him. I haven't watched any of his films, because I've not been exposed to a lot of Telugu cinema, but I'll definitely catch up. Yeah.
Okay. Some best movies to observe cinematography.
Yes. So yeah. So there are, you can find a lot of films on the web, but something that has really inspired me would be No Country for Old Men by Coen Brothers. That is great. You can watch Andrei Tarkovsky's Ivan's Childhood. It's a great film to learn about how interestingly you can use the camera. Then Lawrence of Arabia. It's a great film, like how they shot the vast landscape and the really widescreen, wide format. photography. Uh, in I think there are a lot of, like, if you look at almost any master cinematographer's works, you'll find a lot of films. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's an English film. In Indian context, Iruvar is a brilliant. I think Santosh Sivan's best work. Yeah, and a lot of films. Ashok Mehta's films. Ashok Mehta shot some brilliantly shot films in Hindi. Like, he shot Bandit Queen, but there are a lot of other films too which you should watch. Like Subhrata Mitra's work in Satyajit Ray's films. Like, imagine a 21, 22-year-old boy who has no experience with cinema. He shot Fateh Panchali as his first film,
Yeah.
and the kind of work. I mean, definitely it has got Ray's influence also, because he was such a graphic artist and he had a sensibility of lensing and all. But still, the way he developed, like, I don't think any other cameraman in India has developed like that. So those are like really great.
Almost everyone in
Yeah.
Pather Panchali is a debutant.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
beautiful. And the second film you should watch, like, is Aparajito. It's a second film, and he has invented a whole new bounce lighting system for that. He's still under 30, I think, at that time. 25, yeah, 25, 26 maybe. That's it. So, so amazing work, no?
And you are also you studied from Satyajit Ray Film Institute, right, in Kolkata?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So what are those experiences?
That was really great, because I learned everything I know about cinema from the institute, because I had no understanding of filmmaking. I just had a basic understanding of still photography before I joined the institute. So institute taught me everything, like in terms of technique and in terms of watching films, and it has really informed my tastes to an extent.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say, yeah, it's really great for me. Also, I could work with a lot of people from different parts of India. So
Yeah.
that was a great learning for me. Like, working with them, understanding their cultures, and because before that, I think I was not that kind of a social person. Also, I used to be slightly introverted, if you can say that way. I mean, because my outlook or my experiences in life were so limited, and
Okay.
uh, and I used to think that that is enough, or I knew a lot about the world, but that my belief got broken once I went to the into the institute. So, which was very important for me to progress as a creative person. So that institute time in the institute really helped me. Other than teaching me the technique, I think in terms of life experience, I could learn more. So that was great.
Okay.
Actually.
So usually, how is the schedule or curriculum in the film institutes? I mean, they teach some
Yeah.
theory and then they say,
Yes.
what is the curriculum daily schedule? Or something?
Usually in the first year it's a common course, so everyone gets to learn everything. From the second year, you get, I mean, you are sent off to your different specializations. So in the first year, you learn everything, like you learn editing, direction, editing, sound design, and basics of it, and camera work. And then you do a short film. You direct a short film, you do camera for another one short film, you do sound for another. So you end up working in 3 films by the end of the first year. So that after that, you get into specialization. So I was in motion picture photography or cinematography. So then your training in that stream begins. It begins from still photography, like from basic film. In our time, it used to be in film, black and white film. Then now I think it's completely in digital. So basics of it, like how a still image is formed, and from there you go to start with the motion pictures, and then basic lighting, how to light up a interior studio space. You start from a studio and then go to a outdoor. So it's all broken up into modules, and it's done in a very structured way. And there are like workshops in between. So like very active, eminent cinematographers or sound designers, they come from the industry and take a week-long workshop. Like this happens twice in every semester. So that is a great learning opportunity. So you can like question them, you can see the work, you can ask them anything. They'll even like maybe shoot a few scenes with you, so you can really understand how they light. So that is a great learning opportunity. Yeah,
Okay. So how long is this course?
it's a 3-year course, 3-year long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much does it cost?
Now I think the fees has gone up. In our time, it used to be 25,000 in a semester, including hostel. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
6 months. So it was like really cheap, like really good.
So getting into the institute, they will have some exam
Yeah.
to you have
So
to pass. Okay.
now I think it's a joint entrance exam for FTI and SRFTI. But in
Okay.
my time, it used to be like separate for FTI and SRFTI. So in my year, FTI was not taking any admission because they had a surplus of batches which hadn't left. And so that year they decided not to have admission. So SRFTI luckily called, and our format was there was a written exam of two papers. One would be like
Okay.
completely GK and your aptitude, like the bank test exams, no aptitude.
Oh, okay.
Those things are there in the first paper, and second paper it's like purely creative writing. So they'll give you various creative questions, and just you have to explain like what you imagine and certain things. Like it could be anything. There could be a question like if imagine that you are in a railway station. Now write the visuals and sounds that you see there. So
Oh,
it's like completely how you observe
okay.
basically. So it's testing your observation skills and maybe your creative skills. So
Okay.
so those were two papers. Like based on the marks that you score for these two papers, you were called for a in orientation program, which was a 3-day program in SRFTI. So in
Okay.
that 3-day program, you will be given certain tasks, like they'll give you a concept and take 5 stills inside the campus based on this concept, and then there will be a review of that. You have to explain why you composed it certain way or why you shot something. So again, they are judging your creative capabilities. Then you might be given 3 lights and sent to a studio and said, now, okay, light up a face. Put anyone as a model and light up like a portraiture. That was for me.
Oh,
That's only no thing I know. So and then there are 2 interviews, one departmental interview and one whole panel interview. So there will be a lot of people from outside, filmmakers who come, and then they question you like, what is your intent? Why you are coming here? What do you think cinema is? Or just to judge what your real interests
mm,
are. So after that, they publish a rank list, and then yeah. So in our year, it was 11 people in every batch, including that includes 2 foreign students. So I think 9 people from India and 2 from foreign, like that in
okay.
direction, camera, editing, and sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, while learning cinematography, what is your aha moment? Somewhere you have felt, okay, this is how this happens. So before you don't know
Yeah,
anything, right?
yeah,
That
yeah,
time
yeah.
you are learning things. What are those aha moments?
Aha, I think the moment I realized what it's really about was like in the initial 1 year, I used to think it's a very technical thing, or okay,
Mm,
you just learn the technique and you can do that. But after the first year, in the second year, we have a studio-based short film project. So
okay.
I shot it like very well on a technical basis. So I was really happy the way I shot it on. We shot it on film also, 35 film. So
Okay.
but when the results came out, it was clinically perfect. It was really image wise, but film was not working somehow because it was a very inert, very lifeless, soulless kind of film. It just looked like a technical exercise. So then that is when it dawned upon me, okay, so the images that you make, even if it's like
Mm,
technically or lighting wise or composition wise, it's perfect. But if there is no life inside your frame or what is really
yeah.
happening, you're not connecting with the maybe the performance, or your camera is not informed about the performance in a certain way, then
Mm.
it's a pointless thing. So it's not just about making beautiful photographs. So you have to shoot, you're shooting the actors or you're shooting the performance,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that you shouldn't
Mm,
forget, because otherwise you are just looking at the edges of the frame, you're not looking at the what is really inside the frame. So that was the moment when I really understood, okay, what photography
okay.
means or what it should be. Yeah.
This is how Mahesh understands is when his father says
Yes,
your
yes. So
things have technique but not have emotion.
I could literally like it really resonated when I watched Mahesh
Yeah.
also. I could feel, yeah, this is what really happened to me. Like nobody told me, and it took such
Yeah.
a long time. It took 1.5 years for me to realize that even after I joined the institute, because nobody used to talk about it. Everyone used to
Yeah.
like watch a lot of films, international cinema, and discuss. And but nobody really used to say why certain things are working or certain emotions are working or how to recreate those things. That's what you should be focusing on, no? Because technology or technique you can learn. You hardly need 2 weeks to learn any of it. If you are
True.
have a basic intelligence or if you have a basic common sense, you can learn any technology. But that
Yeah.
emotion, finding that emotion or being there and reacting to that, having that sensitivity, that is the your real learning. So that really took
Yeah.
some time, and from that moment I completely forgot about technique, or the obsession with technique just went away, and then that is when I really started learning. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying some example that at this particular frame I understood something. What did you exactly understood in that particular situation?
Yeah, so my understanding was I was so obsessed with the lighting or the camera placement or the lensing that I completely overlooked the performance. Like,
Okay, okay,
I was not even bothered about the actors, like, or how they were doing.
okay, okay.
So that's another thing, because if you don't have good actors, whatever you do doesn't matter, because
Yeah.
90% of the time you're shooting actors. You shouldn't forget that. So the actor should work as a character for the film. So it's not just about making the actors look good also, no? It's about actors look right for the character. That is your job as a cinematographer or as a director.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
which is very important.
So you, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you worked with actors and also non-actors,
Right.
especially Uma Maheshwara, as
Yeah, yeah.
most of non-actors, including me.
Yeah.
So, so, so what is the difference that you observed, or how do you technically change the your cinematography things to non-actors and actors?
Yes. So one a good thing with the actors is they know how to react to the camera. So they are used to camera and they know the good sides and bad sides, and they know, like, technically how where to hit the mark or how to catch certain light and those kind of things. So you don't have to like talk to them about that. So it's comfortable working with actors that way. So you can actually plan a lot more in terms of your camera treatment
Your
or.
voice is breaking up.
Oh, is it okay? Is it okay now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay.
Now it's okay. Now
Yeah.
it's okay. Yeah.
So yeah, what I was saying is with professional actors, you can be a little more. You can plan a little more in terms of your camera, like camera
Okay.
choreography and them hitting the marks or catching a certain light. So you can plan those shots when you have professional actors. Also, they are like very comfortable in front of the camera. So, but
Okay.
when you're working with non-actors, there is another excitement, because with non-actors, you are trying to take something from their own personality, which you found interesting, right? So you have to make a space around them where they don't feel pressurized, or only then the true self will come in front of. So also, you shouldn't try to do too much like experimental stuff with your camera, or give your camera so much importance, because once camera starts being important, then the whole focus shifts. So
Okay.
make the non-actors very comfortable, and most often it's the first or second take that will work most of the times when you're working with a non-actor. So that surprise element is very important when working with non-actors. So my approach is always I make the make my camera most unobtrusive, actually, when working with
Okay.
non-actors, because once the camera is being present and is being the elephant in the room, then it's very difficult to extract. Also, there is, after a point, they won't be themselves, they start acting, and which will be like really
Yeah.
bad. So you don't want them to
Okay. Okay.
start acting also in a conventional way, or how they think acting should be. So there is no time
Okay.
for us to even teach them acting during that time, no? So so that is a trick, and that is also the payoff sometimes, because sometimes you get
Yeah.
certain things that even trained actors won't be able to give you while working with non-actors that way. So
Okay.
that is the exciting, also the risk part also of casting non-actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. True.
Yeah.
So, generally, cinematographers or directors generally talk about aesthetics. So, certain aesthetics, something.
Yeah.
What is this particular aesthetics? What is the definition of aesthetics, and how do you achieve them?
Yeah, aesthetics, I think it's uh, it's your way of looking at world, actually, in a way. I would define it that way, uh, because like what colors you like is as simple as your taste, basically, in a way. Like
Okay.
how do you
So, so PC Sriram will have certain aesthetics. Santosh Shivan will
I
have certain
yeah.
aesthetics. You're saying something like that? The
Yeah,
style that
no, no, it's
they.
not style. Style can change, but your aesthetics
Okay.
remains the same. Like, it's something.
Okay.
Even if you look at PC Sriram's two different works, the lighting or the filtration, it would change. But his way of looking
Okay.
at a character, you can see uh, certain common things, like in the way, in the lensing he would use. Even that will change. Lensing will also change according to the treatment of the film. But certain way of looking at people or certain way of looking at the world, that
Okay.
remains the same. So aesthetics is not just is part of his style, I would say. It's not just the style. Aesthetic is the basic your taste which informs your decision. So it's your inherent taste for certain things. Also, every film should have. I feel every film should have its own aesthetic, because all only then it will have a consistency throughout. Because you can't have like different aesthetics for different scenes. Like different, it could have a different style of shooting. Like you can shoot with a steady camera and you can go for a handle treatment in certain scenes. That's fine.
Okay.
But overall, the aesthetic is informed by your the way you look at the characters throughout the film, or the kind of colors you use, or the kind of overall overarching way in which you see the characters. So that is where aesthetics is a broad concept. I'm not really sure it should be explained this way, but this is something which is deep within you,
Okay.
and you have a solid. This is the way you look at the world. That I think that's something. Yeah.
So can I say something like an aesthetic is the thematic choice an artist takes for a particular film?
Yes.
Film,
Yeah.
something like that.
Thematic choice.
Thematic choice.
Yeah. I mean, themes.
As in he decides I want this to be in certain palette.
That is an
Then that
aesthetic. Yeah.
becomes the aesthetic.
That is an aesthetical
That is-
decision. Yeah. That is informed by your own aesthetics, actually. So even if two directors do Romeo and Juliet, imagine the story, the settings, but it
Yeah.
can be done in aesthetically different, very varying ways. Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Romeo and Juliet has been done by both Vishal Bhardwaj and even Raji Ravi. So the way they tell the same story is so different. It's completely dependent on their own aesthetic. Like Vishal sir has a very musical way of saying that kind of an aesthetic. Raji Ravi has a very much more finer, realistic aesthetic. So I think that's how it's different. It has to come from the director. So definitely it's a directorial decision. Otherwise, that consistency won't be seen throughout the film.
Okay. Yeah. So when an aspiring director is debuting into his first film, how much knowledge he should have regarding cinematography?
Yeah. I think having a basic understanding of how cinematography works is really required to strike up a collaboration with your cameraman.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for any director, he should understand. He should have an idea about the world he wants to create. He doesn't need to know how it needs to be created. That is the job of the technician.
It doesn't matter what lens. I mean,
Nothing. It doesn't matter.
So his vision should be clear.
His vision about the film, about the narrative should be clear. How you achieve the narrative that's why you're bringing in the technicians, right? The cameraman. So it doesn't really have, if he has an understanding, that's great. You can always build on that. But even if he doesn't have the understanding of how to achieve a certain kind of lighting or how to achieve a certain kind of lensing, that's fine. But he should be clear about the story he wants to tell. That is the only thing. If he is clear about that, everything else will fall in place. He can learn everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So generally, when you are collaborating with the director, so you will be sitting from the when the script is completed, you will understand the story and you will travel from then onwards, or you will. I mean, what's your process?
Usually, I join from the pre-production stage. I would love to be part of it from a initial stages of writing, but most often that doesn't happen because you get called for only once the at least the basic draft is ready.
Yeah,
So,
ready.
but with luckily for me, I've done films with my film school seniors or film school batchmates. So on that, I was there from the writing phase. So that is a very good way to work also because you can actually plan a lot of things from the start, from the script level. You can bring in a lot of elements. So even you can inform them what can be done or what can't be done. So those kind of things. But always I feel when you're writing, you should not think about the camera or how to achieve it. That is the best way to go about it because once you start getting into that mood also, it becomes very technical or then it
The
actually
emotion might be lost.
it limits you as a writer.
Yeah.
Even though I like to be part of the writing process, but I try not to look at it as a cinematographer at that point. So only after your script is locked, I would really get into the cinematographer mode, and then so until that, I'll only be with them as a viewer of the film or how I might like this story. Or so that would be my. I wouldn't say okay, we might be that it won't be able to shoot or something because you never know, no? So
Yeah.
that is important. So yeah, but usually in the industry, a script comes to you and then you start. But as long as possible before the start of the shoot, I like to be part of it because I feel at least more than half of the film is main decisions are taken before we go for shoot. So it's really important. Also, your pre-planning will really inform your shooting. Also, it will make it very efficient. So if you don't plan well, it will be really inefficient when you really go to the location and then start taking decisions.
Yeah. So when you're developing, let's say, some shooting script, so you'll sit with the director and you'll suggest I mean, the first should be mid shots or first should be long shot. I mean, you'll discuss these things while writing shooting script. How is this process?
No. So what happens is after we read a script, I would give them suggestions about narrative wise where I feel things are working or not working. So we'll have a discussion on that. Then we start looking for location. So when we go to the location, that's only when we see the location actually informs you a lot about how to shoot. Rather than sitting on the script and breaking down into shots, my process is always I take the script to the location, sit with the director, spend maybe a day in the location. We have 2-3 assistant directors, we just place them in wherever. So we try out different ways of staging a scene. Even in your scene, like I think we had done that, like we had taken a AD and kept, and we'll see okay what is really possible in that location, because if you don't have that, most often you might be breaking down shots in a very theoretical way, and then you go to location and okay you realize okay this is not working. So it's always better to start afresh in the location, so that will give you a lot of ideas. Also you can see how the natural light is there, so how to enhance the, if it's an exterior location, you know what time to shoot on, so that all these things will inform you. So if you have only 2 hours of good light in a location, so what kind of an approach you would take, what should be your first shot, so those decisions are happening only in the location. I think that's the best way to do that. So that mostly we work that way, but only for certain like really important scenes where you don't have time and you have to do a storyboard or something, we'll do that before, much before. But that also happens after you see the location or you have an understanding of the set.
Yes. So there is always this debate about digital and film things. So Nolan prefers film, and so what's your opinion? Yeah, so the film is gone, or still you prefer digital thing, or what's your take on this?
I definitely prefer digital because I haven't shot any big film on film also. Also, I think it's a kind of a romantic notion about film now. Now, I would say,
Okay.
because now digital has grown so much that it's even possible to emulate the look of film on digital. But film, the major difference I think is it's not about the medium. It's about how that medium is used. Like when film used to be there, the sets used to be more silent and people were more focused because film is an expendable thing and 400 feet of film is like 4 minutes 16 seconds. So people are
Okay.
really aware of how much film is being rolled on a set. But now with digital,
Mm.
even rehearsals people are rolling. So the whole discipline of a shoot has gone for a toss. So for me,
Yeah.
that is the biggest change that I've seen in a film set, because my first 10-minute short film was shot on film, and it was people were like really focused, and we'll do rehearsal everything without rolling the camera. Then on when the camera is being rolled, the set is like pin drop silence, and everyone, even the guy who is passing around tea, he would stop on his tracks till the shot is over.
Mhm.
But now the situation has gone like anything. The shot is going on. Some people are like walking, eating, drinking. Everything is happening in the background. So that has actually really changed the way our sets operate. So that is one thing.
Okay.
Technically, I don't think digital has made it very easy, because now we can see the almost like 90% of what your final image would be. Up to that accuracy,
Mm.
you can see on set if you have a properly
Yeah.
calibrated monitor. And so earlier in film, the film is after shooting, it's being sent off for processing. If at all there is a mistake happening in the processing stage, your whole every hard work is lost. And sometimes even the labs, if they don't report it, you won't even know. So the blame might come on the cameraman, because cameraman is the only person during film time who really knows what is happening. So
Mm.
in terms of that, film was a risky medium actually in that way. But film had a
Okay.
certain advantages. Like in the initial days of digital, film was better because the way it used to reproduce the highlights, like the really bright portions. Digital used to clip; it used to turn completely white. But film used to have those gradations, those tonal qualities. So, and film was a safer medium. So even if you overexpose by two stops or something, film still held the information. With digital, it was gone.
Okay.
So, but now the
Mhm.
digital has like surpassed I think, the dynamic range of film in a lot of ways. So
Okay.
now, though, there is no question about it. Digital all the way. Yeah.
So, in your earlier interview, I've seen you saying something like impressive camera work and expressive camera work.
Right.
So, what are those things? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, to explain it, it's a little difficult. But impressive is something like if you look at ad films. Ad
okay,
films are
okay,
designed in such a way to capture your attention for those 30 seconds or 15 seconds, right? So
okay,
those
okay.
images
Yeah,
just jump at you and capture your attention for that moment of time, then you forget about it.
yeah.
So that I would say
Mm,
is an impressive image. Just to
okay,
impress you,
okay.
for like shock you, or
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
might not have anything to do with the story that is being told, or with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
emotion of the characters. But expressive is
Mm,
something which really the story demands, or which really goes with the story, or where you are creating the world of the story in such a way it stays with you for a much longer period of time. So
okay.
that is something, and which has a lasting value. So even if you look at Satyajit Ray's films, like most of the films now,
Mm,
you wouldn't,
mm,
even though those are black and white, the photography is very contemporary in a way.
mm.
That, even from 90s and all, you feel a timeless quality to those images,
So,
right?
can you repeat it? It's stuck actually. Can
Yeah,
you repeat?
yeah. So certain films, when you
Yeah,
rewatch it again, you feel a sense
yeah.
of timeless quality to those images, right? Those I would
Okay.
define as expressive works, because they are not dependent on the current fashions of image making, or also this images are so connected with the narrative, no, like so much in sync. That's why those images stay in our mind, because otherwise, if you look at most of the I would say commercial glossy, so-called glossy films, even in Bollywood or even in Tollywood also,
Mm,
I mean Telugu film industry also, uh,
Yeah.
Most often it's those images have nothing to do with the world they are showing. It's just to
Okay.
show the actor in a good light, or to put the heroine, put a very interesting backlight on the heroine, so that she will look like a fairy or something. But do you think after 5 years you would be remembering these images?
Okay.
No,
Mm.
even now we remember
Okay.
the
Okay.
images from Iruvar. Why? Because
Mm.
it
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
also stylized work. I'm not against style.
Yeah.
I'm not against stylization, but
Yeah.
those images work well for that film. That's why we remember that. So films, images that work well for the story you're saying, I would say is a very expressive work. Images that has
Okay.
no relation with the films and are just there to uh, show the skill of the cameraman, maybe those are like impressive. Yeah.
So, what is the best scene you feel? I mean, you have seen so much cinema. So, what is the best expressive scene that you have seen?
Best. That'll be
Your
very
favorite?
that'll be difficult to pinpoint because
Okay.
uh, even if you look at any good film, there are moments like that
Mm.
where
Okay.
certain. I have a lot of references in terms of Malayalam films that you
Yeah.
might not be able to know, like, or connect, or
Yeah.
might not be
Or
able to find out.
Maniratnam films, take
Yeah,
an
yeah,
example
yeah.
from Maniratnam.
Maniratnam films, like, one moment, like in Iruvar, I can say. In Iruvar, there is a moment where Mohanlal's character, he has become the chief minister, and uh, a lot of moments actually. Like he's telling someone to arrest Prakash Raj's character. So I remember,
Okay.
like, there is a certain uh, camera movement or something which really informs, like, how he has been a great friend of him, like they grew up
Yeah.
together. So all those
Mm.
things, no, for a flicker of a time it comes across his face, and the camera work is so much with him actually at that moment, and
Okay.
that really punctuates
Mm.
his emotion. So that is
Okay.
something, because that really hits you. Or maybe Nayagan, Maniratnam's
Okay.
Nayagan, there are a lot of
Mm.
moments like that. Like at the end of it, when that boy comes and asks Kamlas, and are you a good man or a bad man? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nallavana Kattavana.
So I mean,
Mm.
those, the way it's been shot, no, even if I look at
Yeah.
it now, I'll cry. So it makes
Mm. Okay.
me well up, my eyes well up even now. So that is for me like really something. Yeah.
Okay. So they usually say every artist has his own visual language.
Language. Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, visual language.
Okay.
So what is your visual language when it comes to cinema? I mean, since you have done so many, you have done in Bengali industry,
Yeah.
Telugu industry, Malayalam industry, even Nepali industry. You have been through various
Yeah.
industries and also various films, feature films, short films, documentaries. With the abundance of experience you have through these things,
Yeah.
what do you feel is your visual language? What is the
I think it's still in very evolving, because I'm in a very beginning
core?
phase of my career. So I haven't really thought about it. Only when you are asking now, I'm really thinking about it. Because most often in most of the films that I've worked in, my visual language is always dependent on the script, on the story, or on the setting, on the
Okay.
place where we are shooting. So all these things inform my visual language. So it's not something
Okay.
which I can see as my own, or okay, this is my style and I am going to apply that. I don't have that approach.
Okay. Okay.
My style is
Okay. Okay.
informed by the story, by the director's vision, by the locations, even by the actors. Sometimes your
Okay.
whole visual language is so dependent on the actors. So I think it's a combination of all these things, and I think this is the same for everyone, most of the cinematographers. But I think at some stage in the career they find certain things that work for them, and then they start repeating, and that becomes their style. So I think it's a very organic thing, and till now I would say my visual language is informed by uh, all these things. So I don't,
Okay.
but always I try to make sure that whatever I'm shooting, at least the world that I'm creating should have a consistency to it. So if it's a very realistic film, it has to look realistic. If it's a stylized film, then that style has to be there throughout. So
Okay.
in terms of, so if even if you're shooting a film like Dawn, so Dawn is that character, he's living a larger than life role, or so throughout the film your every decision should show it in that light. Now you can't
Okay.
make him look in a very realistic setting, and it won't work that way. So
Yeah,
I think,
correct.
yeah, so I think if you're going for it, go for it like completely, like, so that's my style actually. Yeah.
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 See, usually when film buffs
Hmm.
see movies, they can easily identify by seeing just a frame that this is a Maniratnam film, this is a Ram Gopal Varma film,
Hmm.
this is a something like that. They
Right.
will identify the film right away by looking at the frame,
Yeah.
right? So, just like that, can you identify by just seeing a frame? This is PC Sriram, this is Santosh Sevan, this is so and so, something like that. I mean,
I think if that is there, it's actually a limitation of that artist, in a way
okay.
also, because
Hmm.
if you're shooting, if you're having similar images for very different stories that you're seeing, then
Okay.
I don't really think that should be the approach. Then you're celebrating, you're being an individual star. So the problem
Okay.
with cinema is also, cinema is such a collective art, right? So cinema,
Yeah.
okay, individual arts, stars have, having individual stars is fine, but always it shouldn't, story shouldn't take a backseat because of that, or the your storytelling shouldn't take a backseat because of that. It's the
Okay.
same as, because if you have a superstar and you're trying to tell a village story, but because you
Okay.
have a superstar, you're forced to make him look like a superstar in a village story. So then you're jeopardizing the whole concept of your life in
Yeah.
a village. So
Okay.
that really starts affecting your storytelling. So in the same
Okay.
way, if I'm you're bringing Roger Deakins or someone who is known for certain very stylized films and asking him to
Yeah.
shoot a village film in a stylized way, it doesn't stick. So in
Okay.
that way, I think it's a limitation. If an artist says that, okay, this is my style, whatever I do, I'll do in this style only, it's a problem, especially in terms of cinema. In terms of painting or in terms of still photography, it could still work, but I think in cinema, having that is a huge limitation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how much of the cinematographer's own personality in the sense the way he looks at life, maybe he is an introvert, maybe he is a extrovert. How are these things affect his craft?
I think everything, like everything right from your childhood, the way you look at world, everything informs you. The
Yeah, I
way,
think it's going to end. I'll
okay.
restart again.
Acha.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
has it been
It
in
is 20
1 hour
seconds. Yeah,
already? Okay. Okay.
yeah, it's done.
Okay.
Mm. Yeah, I'll
Yeah, yeah.
stop.
You
We can
restart and let me.
continue. We
Yeah, yeah.
can
I'll cut it.
restart.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Cool.
Hi, Apu.
Hi, Ajay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying about the styles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
How one person should not stick to his own
No,
individual.
I think the point was your style, or yeah, definitely your inherent aesthetic will be there in what you shoot, but
Yeah.
your style, you shouldn't like be too rigid about your style. The style
Okay.
has to be informed by the narrative. So that is the point. So whatever the story or the kind of, so that has to inform your style or how you are going to shoot it,
Okay.
rather than applying your own way of shooting certain things and trying to make it into a formula, and then it becomes like following a certain formula, no? Okay, so
Okay.
you have to shoot action, you shoot it only this way, or you're known for shooting good action scenes, so that is in the, then you're not going up to your true potential, or how, what working according to what the story is demanding.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Someone is asking how to crack Sachitra Film Institute, that particular
Okay.
exam. Any suggestions for that?
I'm not really aware of the exam pattern right now, but from my experience, that was I wrote it in 2011 end, so it's been almost like 9 years, 10, 10 years, yeah, almost 9 years actually. So I don't know whether it's still valid, but basic things would be, practice aptitude things, aptitude basic questions like the bank exam questions, basic logic, reasoning, those kind of things. Then read upon films, like important films from an Indian cinema's perspective, like what are the really landmark films in India, and try to learn, because if you are really passionate about cinema, then it should be given that you should know about these things, right? Especially in such an information age where information is right there in your fingertips. So I think the institute is also testing for that only, like whether how passionate you really are, or how much you have really tried to get to understand about cinema. So try to understand the basics of it, because film institute is where you are going to uh, really apply yourselves and gain that experience, or learning it. So before that, whatever is available to you, read up on important films of India, about important filmmakers who really changed, or different film movements that has happened in India, about different industries. So I think that will actually give you enough information to attempt the exam and crack it at some level. Also, like really pay attention to how you observe things. Like start writing down, like making notes on what you really observe, your observations about life, or about certain things, like how I told you before about a railway station. What are the things that you really find in a bus station or railway station, or the public places where, because those are the places where you are going to shoot, or you should understand the dynamics, the energy of that space, or
Yeah.
what, how a place is constituted. So start observing things, observing your home, observing how your mom cooks, what are the things she's using for that, everything. I mean, everything helps in cinema, because cinema is life in a way. So you are recreating life, so you should know how
Correct.
things happen in real life. Yeah. So that's
So
it.
when you observe something, see, just like what sound is for a music director or music composer, the light is for the cinematographer, right? You're
Right.
always looking at how is the
Yes,
source
yes.
light. How,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
when you're looking at something, just I mean, real life scene, what are you actually looking?
uh what are you looking is, like for example, if you're looking at a kitchen, how
Okay,
things are happening in a kitchen. For
okay,
example, I'm just saying, so if you go in the morning and see how the morning light is hitting the kitchen, that is from a
okay,
lighting perspective. From a
okay,
direction perspective, you can look at how fast your mom is like moving around, or how swiftly
okay,
she's moving around. So even when you're directing an actor, you can tell her, okay, if you're chopping onions, this is the way people chop onions, or this is the speed at which someone who has
okay,
been doing housework for so many years chops. So those kind of things you can notice the difference between how a novice does or how an experienced person does something. So
okay,
that is also observation. So everything. So there are so many things to observe actually, even in your house, like how people move around. We do certain things because we have done that so many times. It comes so naturally to us, no? Even we don't realize those things. But if you
yeah,
really
yeah,
observe it, there is a you have expertise in what someone does. So also in terms of light, so you can just sit in your room and observe how the light in the room is changing throughout the day. That itself is a good exercise for the
okay,
beginners, because when you, especially if you remember, I don't know if you were there, because in Uma Maheshwara, almost half of the day interior scenes are shot at night. So we recreated daylight, like at that point of the time of the day, how the daylight is. Even the breakup phone call of Satya, right? That
yeah,
scene,
yeah,
that final phone call scene is shot at night. So if you really look at his eyes in that shot, you can see the skimmer which is bouncing the light. And even
okay,
he's going inside, walking, giving the phone back and walking inside. That's shot at night. So we
okay,
recreated the daylight. So in order to really like faithfully recreate your daylight, you should understand how a daylight looks like, right? In your room, the
yeah, yeah,
quality of it, the softness of the light or the harshness of the light, the angularity, how it's falling off, like light falls off in a certain way. So those kind of
yeah,
things is your, that is your visual memory. That is the visual bank that you are really building on. And when
okay,
you are on a set and you have to recreate that, you're falling back, you're using that information and
okay,
doing that. So that's where, even for a senior, even for the most senior most cameraman, they do that. Like they, it's
okay,
such a part of their process, no? even without noticing, they'll be doing that in their mind. If they're going to a location, they'll be looking at the light and understanding, okay, how much time we can use this light or how to recreate a certain light. And so those are the things we'll do even when we go for a location recce, for a location scouting. Yeah. So that's very important.
Visual memory, that's the word.
Visual memory, building a visual bank, that is the most important thing. Yeah, it's like a bank. You're putting all these thoughts, all these things somewhere in your mind, so that you can take it when you need it to be applied.
So somewhere. Just like a writer, he observes things happening around, and when he finds an interesting article or something, he captures it
True. Like that. I think for every filmmaker, every technician, that observation is very important.
Okay. So other thing, generally, see, when somebody there is a misconception. General people, what they say is, when I see a particular scene in a beautiful location, let's say in Switzerland or in somewhere like that, in a beautiful green scene, they will say that photography is superb. I think that's the common misconception about cinematography.
That is the problem.
So location wise, they will say that photography is excellent in this movie, they will say.
Right.
So as an expert, what is the best photography? I mean, the scene, this how do you say that this particular scene is well shot?
For me, it is always, if you are in the film and you're not really realizing that this is a film. If the director and the whole crew gives you that impression, you are being sucked into that world. Like example, if you're looking at Mad Max film, Mad Max Fury Road, once you enter the film, you are there in that world. There is not even a one point where you feel that, okay, oh, this is a beautiful frame, or when you're saying it's a beautiful frame, you're going coming out of the narrative, and then you're looking at as if you're sitting in a museum and you're seeing something. That is not the intent of cinema. In cinema, you have to be a part of the story, and that is the skill. That is the storytelling skill, actually, which we need to achieve. So through photography also, you have to achieve that. So that once you are in that film, you are in that film throughout, in and in. Like all the elements should contribute to that. So I think such a scene would be there are a lot of such scenes in every film. Every film you can see, even if doesn't have a consistency throughout, but there will be a scene where you're not really bothered about the visual gimmicks or the beauty of the frame as such, but it works well towards the telling of that story. So I think that is a good, well shot scene.
So the bottom line is, the more immersive experience an artist gives to the audience, then that's the best. Yeah.
Because you really want them to believe in the world you're creating, right? So that is the ultimate. So if the viewer becomes a part of that world, if he even forgets his own life or what is happening in his life, or for that time, and he's so invested in that story, I think that is the ultimate experience for any cinema.
So the audience should feel timelessness.
Correct. I mean, they are transported to the world in front of them without like being an outside observer. And so if I think that should be the intent of this, of whatever we do.
Okay. So tell me more about your photography days. You once said that there is one particular photo that you have shot that inspired you to come to this particular stage. So tell me more about this particular incident. What did you observe in that particular photo? I think it's a beach shot.
It's something. So I was in my final year of engineering college, and my father had given me a small Sony's point and shoot camera. It's almost as big as the mobiles now. It's a small one with a fixed lens, and so it was the last semester, and I thought maybe I'll take some snaps in the hostel and with friends and all. Farewell, all those things are happening. So I had been to the beach one weekend, and there was a beautiful sunset happening. So I thought I'll take some photos of the sunset. Then suddenly I saw a father and son sitting in like at the edge of the beach just before the waves are coming in. Then they are making something with sand and all, and they are actually playing actually. So the son, he must be at, I think 4 or 5 years old. That's it at that time. So he's, and that father is like they animatedly they are talking. So son is like raising his hand and all, like trying to explain something, and very good mood, and the sun is setting in behind them. So I just randomly, because at that time I had no idea about photography composition, or I didn't even know how to control light also. So it's a auto exposure setting I was taking, like how most of us used to take at that. So I just took a few snaps, and then I came back to the hostel, and on my desktop computer I was just checking those images. So there were like 4 or 5 photos I took, and one image among that, like I was constantly coming back to that image because that looked somewhere different, because at that time I didn't understand why it was looking different. So that actually the search for how to know how why this image is looking different, that led to me to learn more about composition, about lighting, and ultimately emotion came much later. But I think looking at it now, that photo had that emotion, that's why it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So please share that image with us so that our audience can
Yeah, it's there on my
later see it.
it's there on my Insta feed actually, because I had
Oh, okay.
posted it a few months back. I think
Okay.
5 in January, I think, because
Okay.
that marked the 10 years of my finding photography. Like
Oh,
that was
okay.
my discovery of photography actually, because that actually from that moment only I consciously started learning more about photography.
Okay.
So this happened in 2010, and in
Okay.
2020 it was like my 10 years. Like that photo really marks my 10 years in in
Okay.
as a student of photography. Yeah, and still
Okay.
I consider myself a very basic student only. But yeah, that was the moment which made me realize, okay, this is what is happening behind this image.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from that shooting that particular still image and receiving a national award, this particular journey. So can you elaborate your national award experience for that
Oh, that
non-feature
was,
film?
yeah, that was, I would say, completely unexpected, because I had no idea it was even sent for a national award.
Okay.
Because it was uh, it was a student film. It was a graduation film for a MA student. I had shot for
Okay.
that in my own hometown. So that was the more exciting part, because that was my first project that I shot in my hometown, Calicut,
Okay.
Kozhikode in
Okay.
Kerala. And
Okay.
I had no idea. I was watching this Hindi film called October in a mall in Cochin, and in the intermission halftime, I'm getting a call from a friend saying, the name of your film has just been announced in the national awards, but he was not sure which category it won for. So then I messaged the director saying, oh, our film has won some award. Please check it out. I'll finish the film, and then I'll come out and we'll see. So I was really happy, and I was watching the second half, and while watching the second half of the film, I'm getting messages saying, congrats, great
Okay.
news. Karke. Then I just got out of the theater in between and called, what happened? Who,
Yeah.
like, you won for cinematography? Like, I was like completely shocked, because I had no idea till that time that it was sent for nationals. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
that
liked
is great.
I liked the metaphor. See, actually,
Hmm.
the name of the film is Eye Test,
I test, yeah.
right? It's actually
Yeah.
test for your own cinematographic eye.
Yeah.
I always search for these silly metaphorical things
Yeah.
since completely.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Even I didn't think about that later. Then even someone pointed it out to me. Oh, you won a film called for national award for a film called I Test. Yeah. So that was interesting actually. Yeah.
yeah.
But that's the thing, no? Like these things
Hmm.
it just happens. I mean, nothing you could have planned, or
Yeah.
this happened, and I think it lasts for that long only, because in cinema you are as good as that's what this is something I really believe in, and I try to follow in my life. In cinema,
Hmm.
you are as good as your last film. Everyone
Yeah.
treats you that way only.
True.
So uh, even if you look at any of the great filmmakers, they'll say, "Oh, you are great and all," but would you call them for your next film? then they'll think, oh, what did he do last? Okay. So so you you have to keep yourself relevant at all time. You have to keep yourself updated. You have to really think that you are still a student of. So I think National Award helped me in getting those Bengali films after that, in a way.
Okay.
Bengali feature films. I definitely, I'm really thankful to the National Award, because that really gave a lot of a lot of conviction for a lot of filmmakers to call me. So
Yeah.
because what happens is, in cinema, you talent is always there, but finding the right team to use your talent, that is something not everyone gets most of the times. So for that, I'm really like deeply thankful that at least National Award gave me an opportunity to channelize my talents through the right people. So that right
Okay.
people, I mean, the kind of people I want to work with, they found me that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, when you're hiring an assistant cinematographer, so what do you exactly look in him?
First is loyalty, like
Okay.
anyone, like he or she has to be, and not just loyalty to me. He has to be loyal to the film that he's working in.
Okay.
So even if one of my decisions or is there, he has to remain loyal to the project or the. So that is something. So in case you get a something so something more personally advantageous situation, so that, but you have, you always should keep the film in front, on top.
Okay.
And second is to be really I mean, is to have a urge to learn, to really learn and to better himself, because
Yeah.
only if my team like he would define my team, right? He or she,
Yeah.
I mean, the my assistant is actually, people will look at my team from through him. So
Yeah.
he or she is representing me. So
Correct.
it's very important that they match up to the expectation that others have from me. So that is another thing. And another thing, they should think like cameraman and not like assistants. Like
Okay.
even if I'm busy with something, he or she should know what is going to come next and start planning accordingly.
Okay.
Because that's how a cameraman does, and they are going to be cameramen in the future. So they should think in that way. So these are the three things I look for.
Okay. So, what are the three qualities for should must have qualities for an aspiring cinematographer?
The urge to learn,
Okay.
always. Yeah. I mean, that is the that's the most important thing for any visual artist.
Okay.
Yeah. So only then you will also like question your own process, and you'll try to refine your workflow. So that is one thing. Yeah, a very good observation. Like you,
Okay.
you have to be really observant, and because the world is constantly changing, right? So like the technology is changing so fast. The world around you is changing. How people use technology is changing. So that observation skill is very important to keep,
Okay.
so that you are relevant in this world, in the upcoming world.
Yeah.
Then is try to form your own aesthetic, or rather than going behind fashions.
Okay.
Like there are a lot of things, like even now I see a lot of young DPs trying to copy something which is very popular in the Hollywood, or but their context is different from our context. So find style from what is around you. Your
Okay.
style has to come from what is around you. You shouldn't apply style in front of before substance. Style has to come from the substance around you. So that is something every DP should practice. Because yesterday I was listening to this one masterclass by Santosh Shivan. So what he told me, not told me, like told the audience was, he told why he got selected for American Society of Cinematographers. So he was saying in his interview, they told that we are taking you only because your work looks much different from the works of European and American cinematographers, because the kind of colors, the kind of things that you shot, because it's not, it's clearly seen, it's not inspired from what we guys are doing, or so. Because of that, for that diversity, they are like, so I think we should celebrate our diversity. rather than trying to match or trying to get the same costumes of some Hollywood actor has used in a film, or trying to get those color palettes. We have our own color palettes. We have our own things. We have our own like vibrant colors. Uh, because most often I've heard this thing when people bring foreign cinematographers to India. Always the producers or directors say that they have a different way of looking at things. So what is this different way of? They just celebrate all these things what they see. That is their way of looking at it. We don't celebrate these things because our eyes are there in the
We
Hollywood
are
or
trying to ape
yeah,
something
ape
already
some
there.
things. Yeah, we are trying to match, get references from Hollywood films for our color palettes, which is very stupid because the kind of light they have, the kind of houses they have, the kind of colors or the visual aesthetics they have is different. We don't have those aesthetics, and we have a very rich other aesthetics. So we have to focus on that. Only that will ensure that we have a rooted original aesthetic, which we can call ours.
Yeah. See, that's why they often say the more local you go, then automatically the more global you are going,
Yeah.
because
The
that's the
local
universe.
is, yeah. Yeah.
Because so even Dangal, it created wonders in Japan, China, and something like that.
Right.
It's very local to our thing.
Correct.
But because when the emotion is right, when you're sticking
Yeah.
to your own things, automatically it is universal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So, any other final things you want to add?
Nothing. I'm really grateful that people from Andhra and Telangana really liked the film. So I personally have to say thanks to everyone who watched the film and appreciated our work. I have been getting a lot of messages like on Instagram and Facebook. So I try to reply to everyone, but some I might have missed. So sorry for that, but I really thank you. Like really heartfelt thanks for that.
So, what are your next projects? Any lineup that you have?
Yeah, I was doing a biopic of Soumitra Chatterjee, who is one of the most legendary Bengali actors alive. So he was introduced as that in Pater Panchali, the Apu character is there, no? So in his third film, Apur Sansar, he played the role of Apu. So Satyajit Ray introduced him, and he has worked as the lead man in most of the majority of Satyajit Ray films. I think 15 or 16 films he did with Satyajit Ray. So he's still acting. He's 87 years old and he's still acting. So it's his biopic. It's being directed by Parambrata Chatterjee. He's also an actor, well-known actor, and so I was doing that biopic when the COVID lockdown came in place. So I think some 6 more days of shoot is left. That is going to be my next release. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So there are some questions they have asked. I will just go through this and
sure.
ask. Yeah, 1 second. Apu Chata, like your attitude. See, people likes your attitude. You are
Thank
such
you.
a warm guy. I don't know the Malayalam. On set talk much. I don't know.
Oh, I think it's Manglish. I'm not okay. Let me check. Oh, okay. Oh, I had given an interview for a channel called Pioneer Talk. He's talking about that. I think Roma, more local, become global. Absolutely, yeah. I think there is a Roma inside every one of us. We just have to find that Roma, that story. True. Yeah.
Someone asked, so for horror film, what filters they use, and for action scenes, what filters they use, something like that.
I mean, filters, it's so subjective, no? You can shoot without a filter also. Horror is about creating that mood, actually, in terms of lighting and in terms of the edit, in terms of sound, playing with sound. It's so important. Yeah.
Yash is saying, Umar was amazing, sir. Each and every frame was mind blowing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yash. I was reading something, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Oh, there is another question, sir. I have a doubt. Is it really important to know all the history of filmmaking, where it started and everything, to crack SRFTI? I mean, not just to crack SRFTI, to really understand filmmaking and to know if something has been done before or not. It's very important to understand history, because history, like in every aspect of it, even in life, you need to know what has happened before, right? So knowing history is very important. As a film student, you should definitely know what has happened before in terms of cinematic styles, because otherwise we end up thinking, okay, we found something, or this is something. You might have found that also, but someone must have found that before you. So it's always good to know whether uh, that has happened before. So that's really important. As a filmmaker, you should understand.
Okay, that's it, I think. So one last suggestion that you can give. I mean, if you throughout your journey, if you can say sum up the whole journey into one word, this is what you should have, or something like that. One word that you can give to aspiring cinematographers.
Yeah, I think one aspect nobody really gives so importance is luck. So
Okay.
nobody says that. So whenever we are successful, we try to attribute everything to our skill, and when we fail, we said, "Oh, because of the bad luck, this happened."
Yeah.
So it's always good to appreciate the luck factor, because luck
Okay.
is always there. It's
Mm.
just that you are increasing the chance, the probability of getting lucky through your actions.
Mm.
So your actions are actually how much effort you're putting. So this doesn't have a linear scale or something. Like you are putting so
Mm.
much work, so you can't expect certain result also sometimes. But definitely your probability of getting lucky will increase with the more work you put in. So just keep that in mind, and yeah, I mean, appreciate luck as it should be appreciated.
So there is
Yeah.
a famous saying also: the harder you work, the luckier you get. Right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you'll get lucky. I mean, life has taught me that, because a lot of times when I really expected certain things, it didn't come to me. But
Mm.
I think it all adds up. If you are sincerely working towards something, then I think
Yeah.
it 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 will reflect on your work eventually, and that
Yeah.
work will pay off at some point of time. So I would say, like, work hard
So they
and
say
enjoy.
that universe will listen, and it will act
that
upon your.
that I think is a very marketing generated thing from the alchemist. Paulo
Yeah, yeah,
Coelho
true, true.
sold a lot of
I too
books.
don't believe that actually. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, because it's pointless being stupidly optimistic also about a lot of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
But
Correct.
if you should enjoy what you do, end of the day.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
especially if you are into filmmaking, you should work with people who you really like spending time with, because ultimately
Yeah.
you're spending a lot of your personal time with these people. So you're spending time away from your family. So
Mm.
always it's important to build such relationships, and uh,
Yeah.
yeah, enjoy the time you spent on work, because otherwise all these awards or money or nothing matters after a point. I mean, most important thing is these relationships. So nurture those relationships, work hard, and really focus on what you really want to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great interview and great suggestions from you, Apu. Thank you
Thank you,
so
Ajay.
much for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I
Thank
wish
you. Thank you guys for
you
watching. For everyone. Yeah.
thank you guys. Thank you, Abhishek. There are so many here. So thank you once again. I hope you win so many national awards in future also, for feature films, for various other
Thank
things
you.
you are doing, maybe for a documentary also. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.